Yay! So first of all, where are you zooming in from to meet me here today?
So it's the hinterlands of Brankston as opposed to the hinterlands of Byron. So down in the sunny Hunter Valley, not far from Singleton, Newcastle and Maitland.
So we might be like around 8 hours away, do you think, from each other?
About that.
About 8 hours.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a long drive, wouldn't it?
Lucky we have Zoom.
Yes. Oh, how much do we appreciate this new technology and the things that we can do?
We love it.
So we're going to talk a bit about technology today, actually, because I know that it's how you run your business. But first of all, what about, how do you feel about sharing how you got into business doing what you do today as Inc. Financial Solutions?
I would be happy to. So, about 15 years ago, I returned from sunny Mount Isa, where I had a career as a travel agent and a TAFE teacher. And when I come back, I decided I was going to have a career change. And at the time, it was in the middle of the GFC and jobs were difficult. And I had just said to my husband, I'm going to join the bank. And he's like, don't be ridiculous. And there's just so happened to be an ad for a new regional small business person, and that was looking after Cessnock, Singleton, Muswellbrook and Scone in the regional team. And the regional team went all the way up to Byron Bay. So it was everything in between.
Wow.
So I applied for the job and I actually went for an interview. So I'm in Cessnock. The interview was in, of all places, Foster. I don't know how they chose that, but so we drove to Foster and we did the interview and they were like, congratulations, you've got the job. So that was the start of my banking career. And I spent 9 years as a business banker with one of the big four. And then I moved into home lending as a mobile lender for one of the other big four. But in that time, they started closing branches and they were saying things like, we want to centralise people. And look, fair enough, I was doing upwards of maybe 1,200 Ks a week, just servicing different branches. And the bank was moving into this online technology. So that's where I first had a feel for it. People didn't particularly like it because they still liked the feeling of going to the bank and knowing their bank manager and knowing that there was a real person involved. So that was that. And then as things progressed, it was just before COVID. So we've had this business 3 years now. And I went, you know what, why am I doing this for the bank when I could be doing it for myself?
Yes, absolutely. So tell me, I understand that you mostly your market is women. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. So one of the big thing I found, and look, I don't know whether I should burn my bra or what I should do, but I just found that women didn't have a voice in the corporate scene. Even when you go and buy a car, they sell it to your husband and not the woman. Men can do big loan deals, women can't. But the interesting thing was along this journey, I started networking and it was with a lot of business women. And there was it was interesting that a lot of them didn't feel empowered. They didn't understand how they could do something. They had to run it by their husband. And one of those persons I networked with happened to be a solicitor. And through that relationship, I received, and she does a lot of divorce work. And through that relationship, I had some referrals for women that were trying to finance their homes to save it out of the divorce, who were told previously by a big four lender that they didn't fit their criteria and therefore they believed that they didn't have the ability, they weren't good enough and that they couldn't fund their own journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's intriguing that it's not just home loans and things, but even car loans. It's like, we just haven't come far enough, have we, really,
No.
given that it's 2023. So,
and business loans as well, that women weren't being particularly looked upon for business loans because it was considered often their businesses were lifestyle businesses.
So you decided 3 years ago, I'm out of the big banking stuff and I'm going into to help women particularly to empower themselves in their finances. Would that be right?
That's exactly. Well, that's how it came. It didn't feel like that at first because like anyone starting a new business, it was that leap of faith. Can I make it? Do I have the goods? Am I good enough? So that was the big overall plan, but there was a few, probably the first 12 months was a bit nerve-wracking because in this role, my remuneration doesn't come until the loans actually settle. And it was potentially 6 months before any of that went through. So I went into an industry where I did not see any income for 6 months.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Did you have plans in place for how you were going to survive that?
I did. I had a credit card, really bad banking, business banking advice. I had a credit card and my tax check. I worked out my home loan payments for the 6 months. Mind you, I did have a husband in the background, so that was okay. But my part of the journey was I'd worked out every payment. And the funny thing was it worked out beautifully. So it's just having a little bit of faith and trusting the universe and showing up every day and doing some work, and it does happen.
Wow. So you said that you did a lot of networking while you were working for the bank. Mm-hmm. So is that something that you found helped you bring business in, and have you stayed with that strategy?
Absolutely. So I absolutely, besides the fact that because I work by myself, I love the connection. But my networking is predominantly, I love women's networking. We seem to do it so well. There's been some great groups, particularly here in the Hunter and our online groups. So, yeah, and look, there's nothing nicer than a long lunch in a vineyard.
Yeah. I'll bet. I haven't done that, especially not in a networking sense, but I'd like to. So maybe I'll come down and network with you one day doing that. That sounds very, very, very special. And do you find that you get some good work done or good connections and things done when there's wine involved?
Look, I don't drink and drive, so the wine is limited. But yeah, look, I've met some amazing women, and it's amazing how you build a sense of trust and you get a feel for it. And it's amazing how you call on these women at times. So to give you an idea, I have a child who's in her 20s, and she had a moment where life wasn't going the way she wanted. And I was a bit concerned about her mental health. So one of the ladies that I met, who was just an amazing woman, is also a life coach. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, I had sent her an email. I said, hey, Sue, can you give the child a call and have a conversation with her? And even though the child didn't want to have that conversation afterwards, she rang me and said, Mum, thank you so much for that. And, here's someone that didn't have to do it, didn't have to go out of the way, but being a like-minded businesswoman, with a family wanting to support, it was just amazing. And look, I can tell 1,000 stories of different women that I've met who are all on the same trajectory, that just want to help each other and lift each other up. It's not a competition.
It's just so beautiful, isn't it, when we can get to a point like that. I think it's not for all women. I think that there will always be a certain number of people that just see anybody else as competition. But when you can be at that stage where you realize that supporting other women in business is only going to help yourself also. And it's to do with confidence. And there's just so many benefits, aren't there, to supporting each other. And when I say benefit ourselves, I mean in terms of our own mental health and our own well-being. So, yeah.
I totally agree. And look, there are some women that are happy to be competitive. And look, you wish them the best of luck. But I think from a mental health point of view as well, it's wonderful to know that there are like-minded women out there, that you are actually not a crazy person doing it by yourself, that, you can bounce ideas off. And look, you're always going to fail at some point, and it's always to have someone that say, oh, yeah, I failed too. Just hop back up, get back on the bike, and try this way.
Yeah, I definitely think that having that support, and whether that's in person or online, or whichever way of networking works best for you, recognizing the importance of it and recognizing that doing it on your own is just so much harder, but having people to bounce ideas off and learn from is so valuable. So Yaaay, I'm so glad that you have found that through your whole journey to be such a powerful thing for you to do. So in terms of sharing your knowledge and wisdom and all of that, what would be one thing that you would say to people just starting out in business, for example? What's one tip that you would share?
Join a networking group.
Yeah.
Even if it's online. No, I think the biggest one would be do something every week outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Go to the movies by yourself. Go to a networking event by yourself. Make contact via, like those things were so out of my comfort zone. And now I love them. And, the funny thing is now I'm probably happy to go by myself because I then don't have to babysit the person I was with or worry, that's the wrong word, but worry that, they're being left out. Whereas now I can just, meander around and, talk to people and make those wonderful connections.
I just think that's such wonderful advice. So not just get involved in networking, but step outside your comfort zone and do something that makes you uncomfortable every week. I think that's just fabulous because that's covers so many things. It could be go live on social media, for example, like we are right now. There's Absolutely. So many things that you become a better person and grow and for you as a human and also in your business when you try something new. And I definitely think that in terms of those in-person networking events, so Positive Passionate Businesswoman started as an in-person networking group, and pre-being Positive Passionate Businesswoman, it was Bangalore Businesswomen's Networking Group. And I was on the committee of that for maybe 10 years or more. I can't think offhand how long it was, but it was a very long time. And we met in the mornings. And it was really interesting how, depending on which speaker we had, would be what sort of group would be drawn in to see that speaker. But then there were always the diehard fans that would come every month without fail. And it was just wonderful being with them over years and years and how we all evolve in our business. There were a few women in there who had 3 or 4 different businesses during the time that I was there. And, they just kept evolving and changing as they needed, which was really fascinating to watch. Have you had women in your groups that have been the same people for years and years that you've been involved with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's funny how we all call on each other. So during COVID, but prior to COVID, there was a lovely group that met on the change of season and did a lunch in the vineyard, and women would come from Newcastle and further up the valley. And then that one, and it was fun, it was the same women every month, whether we all just like going out for lunch, I'm not sure, and getting dressed up, but the speakers were always amazing. And then that stopped during COVID, and it's only restarting again now next month. But it's funny, the people that I've met, and then there was a local group, a local boutique, and from there I met some amazing women. And again, we all, even though that's now folded, we all still, we'll all run into each other or refer to each other. But the other thing we'll all often do is go, here's a new group, let's go and try this one, or let's go and support these women, or what do you think about this event? So look, they've all had many forms. And those individuals have some of them have gone from being business owners back into PAYG, but still maintain the relationship with their women.
I think that's
definitely there. And also the online network. Like, I think the whole online community is wonderful, because when you haven't got time to get in the car and go somewhere, or it's the middle of the day and your boss won't let you out, you can jump on, you can be there. You can be present, you can hear what people are, thinking and doing elsewhere. It's great.
Absolutely. I agree. I love both for those same reasons. Exactly. So where do you get your inspiration from to do the kind of work that you do? And particularly in the fact that you're not going to be getting paid up front. And so you've got to put it out there with people, knowing that there might not be something coming back to you. How do you find yourself staying inspired to keep going?
Interesting. So when I first started, I probably didn't realise that I potentially had PSTD from that whole corporate world. So I started doing some of these online self-help type courses. And the first one I did was a lady in America called Brooke Castillo. And I used to listen to a podcast. Now, I never admitted to it because it was all that woo-woo stuff, like family would have thought that I was a bit. So that was fine. But I did find over time that was just slowly making an impact. Then I actually went to a women's networking, and there was a lady on there that happened to be a TV presenter, and she had gone into consulting. And I actually I went to her for 12 months for business mentoring. And at first it was really about putting yourself out there, and that was just so out of my comfort zone. And on a reflection 3 years later, I can now see that the growth of where that took me. But one of the things when I started with Brooke Castillo was that she was really adamant about it was just about showing up every day. So for me, some days are like 10 steps backwards, 2 steps forwards, going round in circles. But and then you think to yourself, oh, I'm not good enough. Why aren't they coming to me? But I think what really keeps me going is the fact that you do something for one person. And I think I shared this story with you the other day, that I had a client that come from a background of domestic violence. She'd been told that she couldn't keep the family home, and her solicitor said to her, look, just give De-Arne a call, see what she can do. And look, we did. We went through 3 lenders before we found one that suited, that would use her income. So when she went to the bank said, oh, no, we don't want somebody who's on a pension, getting maintenance, and has minimal work experience. Where we found a lender, look, she did pay a slightly higher interest rate, but she kept her family home, something she thought she would never achieve. 2 years later, we refinanced that to a cheaper rate, because she had in that time found her confidence. She had gone and got herself a better part-time job, and actually she's doing amazingly. And so we went to another lender, we reduced that rate, and then her house value had increased, and she bought it, and she said to me, do you think I could buy a new car? And I'm like, absolutely. So we looked at that and we got her new car. Mind you, she had to wait 6 months with the pandemic, and I didn't think it was ever going to settle. But that was okay. The day it settled was before Christmas, and she sent me the most magnificent email about how no one ever gave her the ability to pick a car. She never thought she'd own a car, let alone own her own home, be able to take her kids. Camping was her thing. She was just a totally different woman, because she was empowered to do what she needed to do, because she had someone who, I do this every day, and she had no idea. And if I can give to people something that I have, I'm more than happy to share that can make their life better. And look, I know not every deal is going to go to getting paid, but it's not about that. It's about, if I said to you, hey, Kylie, we can do this, and you go, no, that's okay. But if you get great service from me and you're happy with what has happened, even if you don't choose not to use my service, you'll say to a friend, I'll go and see if De-Arne can help you. Or I know this lady that can do this for you. And most of my business comes from all of it comes from word of mouth. And you're not going to attract everybody, because not everybody's your tribe. And you may not want everyone. That's why there's more than one broker out there. So it's really up to you, the customer, to decide if you're the right fit. So, look, not every deal is going to be a winner. Not every lender is going to lend to everybody. But it's an opportunity to sit with someone and say, if you want to make your life a little bit better, or you want to take control of your finances, why don't you try this strategy? And with that comes a little bit more knowledge. They don't teach us these things at school. Our parents often don't discuss it, because no one ever talks about money. It's forbidden. And sometimes if we talk about with friends or family, they'll just think we're big noting ourselves, or it's just not a comfortable conversation to have. So look, that's what keeps me going. And it's it's really that it always fascinates me where people come from. Like, where do they come from? Like, they appear at the right time. You show up every day. You do a little bit of everything each day. You've got a plan. You put it out there to the universe, what you're looking for. And I know that sounds a bit woo-woo, but the putting it out to the universe, I think it's helping you map your direction. So it's really a bit more scientific than that, I think. It's more about, well, this is what I want to achieve. So you know that, and then you go, well, today I'm going to ring 5 clients, make sure my compliance is right, do my Facebook ads, do some networking, not with the intentions of ever selling, but with the intentions of making those networks, and know that if you come from an authentic, positive place, then it'll come back to you. But if you go out there without any caring or any love, then it probably won't come back to you.
I just love everything that you've said. And thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story about that client that you had, because what you've done for her, I mean, I know you know this, but you have empowered her and changed the course of her life, which is just extraordinary. So to have that ability to be able to do that for another woman is just such an immensely awesome thing. Are those the type of clients that you regularly get?
Yeah, I do. And I do have some men in there the same. But it's traditionally women. And I think the reason being is that women have less visibility in this space. It's always been perceived that the husband would do that, or they've never had the income to do it, or, we marry for money, not that we do, but that we'll be supported by our partner. And, the world's changing.
Isn't it just?
Yeah,
So where is your pool coming from? Do you prefer to work locally? Or I know we mentioned at the beginning about talking about tech. You and I have chatted before that you love the fact that you can work with people on Zoom from anywhere. So is that a big part of your business now, working with people online?
Absolutely. So no, I'm Australia-wide. Actually, we are even international. So we have some expats, because we do expat lending as well. Wow. So I've got some people in Dubai, which is always interesting with the time zones. Yeah. But no, I think the thing I love about online, and particularly with women, is that it's safe for both parties. So as opposed to arriving at someone's house at 8 o'clock at night and not knowing, what you're going to get, there's that safety factor. You're not on the road. And the reality is these days everybody's comfortable with Zoom. So you're getting to meet, and it works for everyone. So if you need to have a Zoom meeting at 6:30 in the morning or at 8 o'clock at night, it's very doable.
Absolutely. Until you're having a little tech glitch, as we said before.
I do have those occasionally.
So De-Arne, tell me, what's one thing that people would be interested to find out about you that is not something that you regularly just share in a business chat?
Oh, so besides being a broker, I'm also creating a wildflower farm.
Oh, that is fascinating. Tell me a little about that.
Yes, so I live up in the hinterlands of Branxton, on a lovely 100 acres, which is I have a beautiful view back to Newcastle, back over the vineyards. And when I started this journey, I was like, I'm going to do something for myself one day a week. So I went to floristry school. I was not a very good florist at all, but I'm very lucky to have a husband that comes from an agricultural background, and we both enjoy gardening. And he used to say to me, we're never going to grow anything in these rocks. And I'm like, yeah, we will. And he had he'd already put in a lovely garden of natives. And then one day I come home and I'd said to him, I'm going to sell some of your gum. He's like, no one will buy that. I'm like, well, actually, they will. They're going to pay $10 a bunch for it. And that's where the journey began. So that was about 2 years ago. And since then, he sort of went, we potentially could do this. And then we joined the Wildflower Society. And we went and looked at some properties, and I think it sparked where he thought it had to be a big, grand type of thing to being able to be sustainable and run a business. So we've just finished planting 1,500 wildflowers, so predominantly leucadendrums, banksias, parodias. Yeah, so we'll see how they go.
Excited to hear about how that evolves. So will you be supplying local florists, for example, or what's the dream there?
Yeah, so we have had some conversations with a wholesaler out of Sydney markets who will take our flowers, but no, definitely the local florist. So during my journey at florist school, one day a week, I met some other amazing women that were doing the same type of things. I used to say that I was the fat finger florist because, I was not that dainty florist. I was very much a native florist. And then some of the girls went into those beautiful dahlias and all the beautiful flowers. And every now and again, I'll get a phone call that says, "Yeah, we're doing a wedding, but we've run out of gum." So on the weekend, I supplied one of these wonderful women some gum. And yeah, so I'm hoping that the local florist will be on board.
How fabulous. What a wonderful thing to do. That's that 5th day a week that you've dedicated to something completely different, which must be great for your mental health anyway, but something that you're really passionate about. That's great.
And it's lovely. And look, you can go away and leave them, and it's not like the RSPCA is going to show up if they die.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
I
have
I
a
have
few deaths.
Oh, bet. I have a friend who's a psychologist, and she said to me when she first got into it, which was her second career, she said, I knew very, very quickly I couldn't do that full time. It's too much for my own head processing, et cetera, et cetera. So on the 5th day, she still does her old film work that she used to do. And so she said just having 2 completely different worlds that she can step in and out of is amazing. So I imagine it's the same kind of a thing for you, that just having completely separate worlds to be in your working life is quite cool.
It is. It's great. And it also, I think too, in this day and age where we worry about what's going to happen, even though it's not a money-driven thing, to know that you can potentially make another income in another field, that's a really nice, peaceful feeling as well, particularly as we get older.
Yeah.
And we may not want to be in that, that high corporate stress job. And yeah, but by the same token, I feel for those farmers that have had all these weather events this year. I'm lucky that I can step back into my brokering. So it's sort of the opposite of each other.
That's wonderful. So do you have a mantra or a quote or a word of the year that you live by?
Oh, that's a bit tricky. Should I ask you what yours is first while I think about it?
I have a quote, and I have a mantra, and I have a word. So every year I come up with a word, but my quote really is, if it's going to be, it's up to me. So I can't just put it off, leave it to someone else, etc. Of course I can delegate, but if I need to make changes in my world, it's got to be me that makes the changes. So that's been my one for a really, really long time. Last year my word was focus for the year. This year my word is health. This is my year of health in all the different ways, mental, physical, etc., emotional, all the things. And I can't think of my mantra at the moment. But what about you? Do you feel like that's jogged something for you?
Well, I do have a word. And again, one of those other little side things I've been looking at, it's actually freedom this year.
Ooh.
So freedom from worrying about things. And that's all sorts of things, which encompasses, the 20 kilos that I may need to leave behind somewhere.
Beautifully put.
Yes. Worrying about where's the next dollar going to come from. The freedom to trust yourself and know that you're on the right path. So yeah, freedom to feel that weight lifted, so you're not feeling like you're carrying the world on your shoulders.
Oh, I love that. I think that's wonderful. That might be my word for next year. I think freedom. I actually spend months thinking about what my word will be, because I've done this probably for about 7 years now, where I just get really laser focused on one that just takes me through so many different situations. And I can imagine freedom being that. There's so many ways to use it and work with it.
Well, the other thing I try to do is one habit per month that relates to that goal at the end of the year.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So it may not, and the thing is, I don't get all upset if it doesn't happen, and it doesn't always start on the first of the month. But so for January, my freedom was not to drink for the month of January.
And how did it go?
Well, I went from probably having my 2 bottles of wine a week down to having a glass of wine on a special occasion.
Oh, good for you.
And so that freedom went, oh, there goes 5 kilos. And I went, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And so this month it's been about exercise, and I detest exercise. I absolutely detest it. So it's not about a number to lose. It's about getting up every day and doing 1 lap around the house, and then getting up during the day and doing another lap around the house, which is about 2 Ks by the time around the farm. So
right.
It's not about worrying about how many Ks, how many calories, how many you know, how many kgs. It's just the action of getting up and doing it. So that's what it is for this month. So it's just doing that every day and committing to it. And look, some of them are fun, some of them are novel. Yeah.
I just love that. I think that's wonderful. And coming up with a different one each month, that really changes the focus so that you're not bogged down by the exercise one for too long, or the wine one, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. On that exercise note, someone once said to me, do 5 squats every time you go to the bathroom. And I'm like, what? Anyway, it actually was great because you get in there, you're washing your hands, and then you're doing 5 squats. And she said it's so great because it's incidental exercise. It makes you take longer washing your hands, which is obviously better anyway. And I just thought, what a cool idea. I thought that was really, really a clever one. So
yeah. Anything I have to do where I've got to be disciplined, it just doesn't work.
I hear you. I have this great scenario for about, I think I might be up to 7 months now. I've been going 3 times a week for this personal training, but it's not just me. There's 8 of us. And with this amazing woman. And the reason that I can do it is because we have to let her know on a Sunday. She texts us, she goes, are you up for Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week? And I go, yes. And that's it. So if I don't go, I've taken someone else's spot. Yeah. So I go. Whereas if I was going to a regular class at the gym or something, wouldn't matter if I turned up or not. So probably I just wouldn't. So that's a really good way that I've found that actually gets me going and gets me doing. And still sometimes I just cannot be asked to go, but I go. And I always feel so much better afterwards. So, and she's so great because we have like a circuit or something with a timer. And then she'll remind people, if you've kind of had enough of this one, just stop early before the buzzer. And who else says that? No one. But just that permission to stop, and that it's not a big deal. It's like, you know what? The good thing is I actually turned up at all. I'm already winning just for being here. So that's good. So I think you're so right. It's finding the thing that works for you, and it's not being so, if you're not the sort of person, which clearly you and I are not, where we can cope with that kind of rigidity and hardcore being told what to do, then yeah, it's tough, isn't it? So finding the way that works for you. So good for you to walk around the farm or walk around the property and make it happen. Maybe you could try the squats at the hand washing.
I will. Definitely try the squats.
Well, De-Arne, thank you so much for joining me today, and just a little snippet into the life of what goes on behind the scenes in your business and in your life. I just can't wait to chat more about it. So let's do another little podcast one day. We really delve into those types of customers and things, because I think the fact that you do it predominantly for women is a very empowering, but also that you're a woman in probably what's a very male dominated industry, which is also a really interesting space to be in. So yeah, lots more to chat about on another occasion. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today. We'll have in the caption all the ways that people can get in touch with you. And yeah, thank you, De-Arne.
Thanks, Kylie. It was a pleasure.
Magic to catch up with you. And thanks everybody for being part of this with us. And we will chat with you again soon. Bye, everyone.